President Obama recently had an interview with Vice founder Shane Smith, and they spent a good deal of time talking about climate change. Actually, in this 18-minute interview, which obviously I don't have 18 minutes to show, this 18-minute interview, the first 6 minutes, of course, were spent talking about climate change. And I want to go and show some clips about President Obama, basically saying that what he's done so far on climate change and what there is still to do. Check it out.
And if I'm able to double fuel efficiency standards, and if I'm able to make appliances more efficient and to double the production of clean energy, if I'm able to do all those things now, when I'm done, we're still going to have a heck of a problem. Mm-hmm. But we will have made enough progress that the next president and the next generation can start building on it. I mean, you start getting some momentum.
Which is rational, sane. That's a great answer. However, you have people, for example, Senator Einhoff, who's throwing snowballs, who's saying that the greatest hoax perpetrated on the American public is that we can do anything about climate change or that it's even real. Throwing a snowball would be funny.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the fact that he's chairman of the Senate Committee on the Environment.
That's disturbing.
Damn right that's disturbing. When you have somebody in a position of power like James Inhofe in being the head of the chair of the Senate Environmental Committee, that is really disturbing. And of course what's more disturbing is that people like Inhofe are voted into power. And of course they're backed up by the fossil fuel industry. And of course he's just one of many Republicans that are, of course, against climate change. They believe it's a hoax. You know, they say that they don't believe in it or that we can't do anything about it. And, of course, they try to stall everything, saying that if you do anything on climate change, it'll destroy the economy. Now, speaking of Republicans, Shane Smith and President Obama addressed that in this interview, as well as what he hopes for the future. Take a look.
So you have a very sane and rational plan, but we're not acting in a sane and rational way.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, climate change is an example of the hardest problems to solve. The hardest thing to do in politics and in government is to make sacrifices now for a long-term payoff. But here's what keeps me optimistic is you talk to Malia and Sasha, 16 and 13, and the sophistication and awareness that they have about environmental issues compared to my generation or yours, they're way ahead of the game. There's always going to be resistance to change, and some of that is going to be generational. I guarantee you that the Republican Party will have to change its approach to climate change because voters will insist upon it.
Well, here's where he's kind of wrong. You see, the Republican Party is not going to change because of the voters. It's already been proven that really a lot of votes don't matter. The voters don't matter anymore. We live in an oligarchy now. So the only thing that matters, the only thing that would actually change the Republican Party's stance on climate change is if that money from the oil industry, from the fossil fuel industry, were to stop flowing. If they were to shut down the spigot, close off the spigot of money coming from the fossil fuel industry to the politicians, and that would be, and the only way that would happen is if we get money out of politics. I mean, he's right in the fact that eventually, down the road, someday, 100 years from now, if the Republicans still exist, if our democratic system still exists 100 years from now, if our species still exists 100 years from now, maybe then they'll do something about it once the oil starts to run out and they freak out. That's if we're, like I said, not already have destroyed our civilization through the use of fossil fuels and from the effects of climate change. By then, it would be too late. We have to do something about climate change now. And the thing that Obama has to understand is that we can't do anything as long as that money spigot is open. And I know President Obama, when he was campaigning, he said the right things. He said he wanted to change campaign finance reform, get money out of politics. But it's obvious that he is hypocritical on that. As you remember, last election, he completely turned down regular public donations, I should say public campaign money, and took more private donations. In fact, his super PAC during the 2012 election raised a boatload of money. It made it the most expensive election that we've ever had. So when it comes to the issue of climate change, nothing's going to happen until we tackle the issue of money in politics. And that is the problem that prevents all the other problems from being solved. And that's what we have to do. So anything President Obama says on climate change doesn't really matter until he tackles that very first issue, and that is money in politics, getting the money out.